Yeah, the big question, can I fit a third sausage inside me?
Yes, you definitely can. But if you're training, is it worth it?
Yes. Yes, it is.
We came to get wild and get buck. Came to rock the house and get drunk. From the floor to the ceiling, go nuts. Any sign of destruction's on us.
Welcome again, everybody. AubyNAussie, episode 3. Governing bodies. Remember, we're just two crazy guys who are just enthusiastic about some action sports, but primarily we participate in ice cross downhill. I'm TJ Albrecht, speaking out of Minnesota.
G'day guys, Aussie Crasher here, living in Brisbane and actually broadcasting from Brisbane.
And then obviously welcoming in for the first time on AubyNAussie, our special guest, Kale Johnstone, everybody.
Thank you.
He actually
Kale
is
Johnstone?
the most famous ice cross downhill rider right now.
If you think his face looks familiar, it's because it stares at you in the shower usually on a little black bottle.
If it doesn't, you need some more shampoo. That's what
Or you got the wrong shampoo.
So first things first, Kale, are you going to do a shoey for the boys?
Yeah, I am. I committed.
Attaboy.
I got to
Again.
It's not really fair you're drinking water out of the shoe, but you know, I'll let it slide this time.
Here's to this one. This is an old shoe too. So cheers. Oh, that's not easy, Luke.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah, and everyone makes fun of the Aussies for being like, oh, you make a mess when you drink out of a shoe.
Oh, congratulations.
Was that your first shoey? Did we just take your shoey virginity?
It is my first shoey.
Oh, wow. There's a slippery slope from there, bud.
I feel it. Thanks for the shoey, boys. I appreciate that one. That's a first for me, so I feel honored. So I got into ice cross in 2015. St. Paul was my first race. Started it because I was bored at college. I went to St. Mary's up in Winona, Minnesota. Saw one of the ads for the flat ice qualifiers. So I signed up. Said, screw it, why not? Went up, did it. I took 4th there up in Duluth. They sent me to St. Paul, and it was kind of just hooked from there. I didn't do well. I came in 104th that year. But
I was going to say, I saw your results from that, and I was like, wow, your first race finished worse than mine. Where did I go wrong? How come I'm not finishing up where you are now?
104 was not a good one. That's when they had the top 64 qualifier, though, and the national qualifier.
Oh, okay.
Completely different ball game.
Yeah, I was right there with you, Kale. I think I was 114, 120 or something that year. Like, it was just crazy.
Dude, it was nuts that year. And then we still have guys from that year who, like, finished in the hundreds and are still competing now and, like, top 64, just like us. Like, it's crazy.
Was that the track that ran alongside and then you turned left in front of the cathedral? Or was this one that still a start in front of the cathedral?
It started in front of the cathedral, but that's the year where they had the step down, but it was like a foot step down.
Okay, that's the baby step down. Because my first year was a year after that, right? It was not the baby step down.
Yeah, no, that was when they had the first step down. It was like a foot. It was my first time ever, and I was like, what is this? Like, no idea how to handle this.
But that's also because, like, that foot step down is almost double your height, so it looks pretty big to you.
It's like a third. Come on. Oh, man.
That's hilarious.
So what level did you play? I'll fight you, TJ. I'll fucking kill you. So what level hockey did you play at college?
Oh, I still play, but that's just men's league. I played the ACHA in college. I tried out my freshman year for the NCAA D3 team, but we had 93 freshmen come in that year. So 93. It was an absolute nutty year. So any other year would have been fine, but I ended up playing on the JV team. And then I found ice cross, and after that, I just went right to ACHA. So don't want to deal with coming back to the NCAA. Don't want to have to deal with trying to fight all the rules and all the freshmen. Just go run show on the ACHA team and have fun with it. Before that, I played high school in Illinois. I ended up going to prep school out in New England for hockey, Hebron Academy. And then I played a year juniors at the New Hampshire Junior Monarchs too. I've had my fair share of hockey.
I love it. Well, it definitely shows, man. You got some of the more powerful legs in ice cross.
That's because I'm 5'6" and they can only grow out. They can't grow up.
You know, the best part about it is we get to see you show them off at every race when we wear those American flag pants.
Oh, you got to show up in style. They got to know what country's there, right?
What's one of our favorite sayings, right? Look good, feel good, race good.
Yep, that's what it is. If you don't feel good, what's the point? You might as well not even be there.
But everything always hurts when you're on the track, so I never feel good. Like, what are you guys doing?
Mentally, physically, emotionally, everything hurts.
But I guess the kind of goes to show that a bit of the skating background for hockey, like even if you have the power, makes a big difference on flat ice, but not so much downhill. Because I remember Bathurst, when the track melted, you podiumed. You and the Moriarty, you and both Moriartys, like the little guys smashed that track.
The little guys.
Yeah, I came in second, and it was Dean and Dylan just right around me, one and three. I don't even remember which one took first, but it was just the little guys who took that one. That was a blast, though. That was a fun. They did some magical stuff on that rink, and we also destroyed that ice bad.
Yeah,
those
poor rink maintenance.
They fixed it in like 12 hours, though, and they had a Q game the next night. It was nuts.
We were down to the cement. I remember hitting the cement and slipping out in my heat.
Yeah, didn't you smash a blade for it?
Yep, I was pretty upset.
Dude, it was nuts. That was so fun, though. There were so many people in the crowd.
Oh my gosh,
such a good time.
That was an interesting weekend.
I do seem to remember. Was that the weekend?
That's the weekend we went bowling with Kale. That was the bowling weekend because there was nothing else to do. We got told to be like, all right, everyone at the track. The top half of the track isn't done, but it'll be done for race day. And we get there and there's just snow on top. And then they're like, come back the next day at 4 a.m. So we wake up at like 2 a.m. TJ gets us stuck on a hill. Like he takes the wrong turn. It's a dead end. It's covered in ice. So we get stuck. We almost have to put the ice skates on to push us up this damn thing. We finally get there. And then they're like, oh yeah, Fisher's just taking a run to see what it's like. And then Fisher comes back, John Fisher, one of the Canadian boys, comes back saying, yeah, it's fine. And then the whole thing is just snow anyway. So they end up cancelling it. And I think the first stop for everyone was the Bottle-O. By the time we left, it opened up, and then that's pretty much the weekend.
Before we even got back to the room, when we went to go check the track, we got to the top. We had beers in the car. Do you remember we sent a beer
down the chute?
Down the skateboard chute to Rob, who was down at the bottom?
Yep. Riders ready? 5-second warning.
I remember that was hilarious because you run down the stairs, or TJ ran down the stairs.
I ran down the stairs.
Did the chase cam, and it was a sketchy looking chase cam because they were snowy stairs too.
Dude, that was a miracle weekend for me though. That's the only reason I got to skate in Ottawa.
Yeah.
Really?
True.
Yeah. So I show up to Bathurst, and it was going to be my last race of the season because the next weekend was Ottawa, which was a 1,000-point race, and I didn't have a wild card. I was in college still, so I had an empty bank account. Didn't have a wild card. Nothing. Ended up taking second at Bathurst. Got, I think it was like 1,200 Canadian. Next morning, we get to the airport. I got a wild card to Ottawa. Bought a flight. Changed my flight from Chicago to Ottawa. Bought a flight. Got to go race at Ottawa, and ended up taking my first round of that I ever had. It was unbelievable. Just happened to be during spring break too, so it worked out perfectly.
That's a spring break you'll never forget.
Yeah, dude, I spent it at Webby's. Can you imagine a spring break in Canada with Luke Webb?
I was like, why does this sound really familiar? And hey, I made you amazing dinner, right? Yeah, I'm like, this story sounds really familiar. Why don't I know? Yeah, that's right. And that's when we had B League. That's when we had B League around, and we just went.
Beauty.
Yeah, B League Beauty came and said hi, and we ended up chilling around Toronto for a bit. It was good fun, actually.
That's insane.
Dude, it was nuts. It was a riot, dude. I couldn't believe it.
That was the Ottawa that was really cold, right? Like minus 30 in the canals.
It was so far in the negatives. The ice was cracking because it was so cold.
And the heat, the room heat is were frozen. They wouldn't work. So you'd get in and your gear is like frozen solid from the day before, and everyone's kind of crowded around these 2 heaters in this huge tent. It just didn't work. But that was a fun track, actually, ducking down to those canals, all except that last set of doubles because they were like awkwardly spaced, so you couldn't send them. But it was, if you had the top guys had the technical skill to make it work, but you know.
It was like a side-to-side thing. Like
yeah.
You were in the air and had to hit diagonal.
I know you obviously have a few sponsors to help you out on this one, so feel free to give them a shout out now because, I guess after this we'll start talking about what actually assists in running the sport that we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you to Miracle Flow. They're my shampoo company. You can find my face on a bottle. Blade Tech Hockey, they provide my blades. Amp Human, Recovery Lotion, Herbal Active, Sharp Skate Club, Trials and Tribulations Clothing, and Legion Nutrition supplies my pre-workout. So got to thank them too.
So if I use that Miracle Flow, you're saying that I can actually get this to come down just like you and have it so nice and just slick?
You absolutely can, but I think it's also the dedication of shaving your face like that and committing to it.
Oh, that's a lot of commitment.
It's a lot of commitment. Trust me. I know.
But now I also know you do have the nice flow going on back here too. So
a little bit.
You know, I'm gonna have to put in an order and get myself a little bit of that shampoo.
Plus, I get to look at you in the shower. What's better?
I usually just FaceTime you when you answer, so it doesn't really bother me too much.
In the shower.
Yeah, he always answers. It's like routine.
I did not know you guys were on that level of a relationship.
Oh, no.
Aren't you in that group chat?
Secretly.
Secret's out.
I was gonna say the flow, as my folks call it, is a bit greasy, and I think they love it. So yeah, you're doing well.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
greasy's the way to go. It's in.
Well, we honestly can't thank you enough for being on, taking the time to come chat with us, have a good time. Obviously, today's subject, governing body. We'll just kind of touch base a little bit. Not a lot of our viewers may know, but Red Bull doesn't actually put on or organize these races. They are put on by an organization called the ATSX, or the All-Terrain Skate Cross Association. I believe the organization is headed by Stefan, Caro, R2, and Reed at the moment. And then I believe on the Red Bull side is basically Christian Papillon and Anna Ponce. And they do, so much work behind the scenes too for basically every single race every year.
They're a super integral part to the sport. Those two people alone put in so much time and effort into the sport. It's nuts.
You know, it's actually a little unfortunate. I've told you I'm fighting for you, Webb, the whole time. On the ATSX organization side, like, I wish I had a chance to actually sit down and chat with Stefan or Caro or even R2 a little bit more too. I know, Kale, you and I have a chance to talk to Reed a little bit more often, just being that we are actually part of the USIX as well. I don't know, do you want to touch base a little bit on what the USIX is?
So the USIX kind of helps out with more of the events that are within the United States, but we help put on the 500, 250s, and 100 points if we have them. It's all based on scheduling, if we have the availability, and basically the people to put it on behind the scenes. We help with funding for those events. We help organize the athletes that go to each event. Pretty much everything behind the scenes within America. You know, things kind of fall into our laps here and there. It kind of depends on, it's on the primer, really, to be honest.
So, earlier, I think it was an earlier episode, we mentioned that a lot of these Riders' Cups, I believe is what they used to be called, but now the ATSX level 100s, 250s, 500s, they are built by the athletes for the athletes. That's still the case with the USIX, right? Like, that's primarily made up of athletes still, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the events, the 250s, 500s, they're still put on by the athletes because it's all athletes that run the USIX. It's everybody that's involved with the sport. There's not too many people who don't know the sport, aren't involved, that kind of take part. So it's everybody that's within the sport. It's Riders' Cups, by the riders, for the riders. It's pretty much still what it is. It's just labeled 100 point, 250, 500s now.
Now, Luke, in Australia, is it the same way? Do you have your Ice Cross Association? Is it set up through ATSX?
Yeah, so the Australian Ice Cross Association, we're still working to get officially recognised as an association, like a sporting association in Australia. So a lot of steps and stuff behind the scenes that we have to, go through. I don't know, red tape. They do it because they can. So yeah, we're getting there. We are getting there though. But the ATSX do recognise the Australian Ice Cross. association. So that is fantastic. And that's a big leap because usually if anyone messages Red Bull or the ATSX asking the question about it from Australia, if they get forwarded to me, and then I usually walk them through kind of the steps required of how to get into it and what it takes. So it's usually pretty good. It will, I guess, releases a bit of the workload on some of the like the international guys that deal with all the input or inflow from I guess the general public. So yeah, always happy to help you out. Just keep spreading the sport. I want to see a Team Australia that's actually a full team, not just me and my junior.
The team from down under. What a mess that would be.
You've already seen 2 of us in an event. Imagine like 4 of us. Like, it just gets exponentially worse. Well, not worse.
Just wait for the day there's a Team Australia and a Team New Zealand. Just imagine the bonkers shit that would go on there.
You guys wouldn't understand the conversation at all, though. You'd just be sitting there like, it's like they're trying to speak English, but they're not.
But it's like organized gibberish.
Organized gibberish.
It sounds like it should be offensive, but I don't really think it is because it's kind of correct.
Yeah.
No, I think it's correct. Honestly, besides the USIX, besides the Aussie Ice Cross, I don't even know if you have a short name for that.
Oz Ice Cross?
Oz Ice Cross?
Yeah.
Oz Ice.
Yeah. Oz Ice Cross? Oz Ice Cross, Oz Ice Cross. Say that quickly.
Actually, I have 2 words actually for you to say, Luke. I don't know if you've heard them before, but it's Rise Up Lights.
Nope, not doing it. No,
because I believe
it doesn't work if I say it. It took me so long to figure that out because I was sitting there for like 20 minutes one day after you told me the first time. I'm like, Rise Up Lights, Rise Up. Why does that sound like? What does it sound like anything? And then you said it, and it instantly like clicked. I'm like, oh, I can't do it because I don't have the accent for it.
For the viewers who haven't heard this before, but if you say Rise Up Lights with a bit of an Australian accent, it sounds like you're saying razor blades.
Razor blades. See, again, it just sounds like razor blades to me. You do it then. You go for it.
Every time I say it, Rise Up Lights. It just sounds like razor blades to me.
All right, your turn, Kale.
Rise Up Lights.
Oh, shit. Man. That's depressing.
As you can tell, we have a lot of free time.
It's because it is hurry up and wait. What else do you do when you're sitting in gear, like minus 20 on a bench waiting to go?
Hashtag hurry up and wait. Story of our lives.
But not every country actually has an association. So I guess for people that are watching that don't actually know, if country doesn't have an association, you can make your way in through some, I guess, side door quotas. They're pretty good. It's how I got in.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, the last I checked, we had 22 countries that had participated or are participating as of last year. And I think we need 30-ish to really be considered close to being an Olympic sport, right?
I take your word for that one because I got no idea. But Kale, Mike, you're actually a bit more in the actual organization side of it.
I thought it was something like that.
If I remember the number right, it's like 26 or 27. I might be wrong. I mean, we're not far away. It's just making sure it's growing in each country. There's a outlet for kids to actually enjoy it too. You know, the Olympics are an amateur sporting event. You know, it's got to be open to amateurs. So,
well, with the structure of the level of just this past season, I guess the season before too, and where they're trying to look at going in the future is all about the growth, right? So now we have essentially 4 levels of races. You have your 100s, which are basically the most basic race, right? There's no boards. There's really not very much input from the Red Bull side of things. It's really a basic track, not really too many features. It's really for the beginners of the sport. Some athletes who maybe just getting in, maybe want to hone their skills a little bit more. And I guess the downside, well, not really a downside to it, but the difference between the 100 and the other levels of races, it only counts for the world ranking and not actually for the world championship. But I mean, Luke, do you want to touch base on the 250s?
Yeah, so the 250s is the first level that's actually counting towards your world championship and your world ranking. Those ones have a few more limitations into what is required. So I can't remember if there's boards in the 250.
It's not necessary, but
it's not necessary. It does help though. If you have boards, it does make the tracks a lot safer, and you can push a lot harder, because it's a bit hard if you've got a snowbank and you kind of get nudged into a snowbank. The snow just catches you and you just get torn off into the bank. But at least with the boards, you can kind of bounce off. It's nice. One of the other upsides of the 250s is we actually go to some smaller areas, so like small ski slopes or like towns that are kind of off the beaten path, which is kind of fun because you get to explore a new area, but also really good for the people in those areas where the events are held, because you can see the international riders. Like we compete because it actually classifies us for our world championship, so we have to do a certain percentage of all the races. So you can go and see the top 10 guys in the world go down and race against people that's their first time ever, and it really does put the sport into context of what it takes to be quick on these tracks.
Well, not only is it just cool for us, but look at the economic difference we make. We were just in Per Se last year. It's a fishing town in Canada, right? That is literally shut down. Nothing is happening at this time. But when they bring in a race like they did last year, they opened up restaurants, grocery stores. The race is bringing in money in many different areas around the town. So we actually made the town a decent amount of money. The bars, we do damage at the bars.
Yeah, that
is true. But like, it's great for us. It's great for the cities, and I would just love to see more cities get involved, because hell, it's a chance for us to get to travel a little bit more.
Like 250s is the first level in for, I guess, what the international guys compete in. The next step up from that is the 500-point races. And like Kale, I love a bit of your input on what do you think on at least the track difficulties and the level of competition between the 250s and the 500s.
Yeah, so I mean, the 500s, they're required a lot more by all the riders. There's a higher percentage that are taken that go into your world championship points. So you're going to see a lot more of, top 10, top 20, top 30 guys consistently going to those. But it's still open to the amateurs. You're going to get better competition. There are going to be better tracks. There's boards required. The starting gate features are required. It's a whole setup. It's basically what you're going to get out of a 1,000-point race. It's just in a smaller, compact setting. So it's going to be still kind of off the beaten path a little bit. Obviously not as desolate as Per Se, but they're great tracks. They're well built. Great features. They're a lot more challenging, and it kind of goes with the point structure. If it's going to be worth 500 points if you win the race, it might as well be a more difficult track. Some are harder than others. That's kind of the way of the sport. It's kind of the way people build it. But you're going to get a lot more competition. It's going to be faster races. It's going to be longer, smoother, more well-built tracks overall. That's really what goes into it.
In my opinion, I feel like the 500s are kind of my favorite level of track. It brings all the aspects of everything together. They do tend to be difficult, natural ice, but yet not in the major cities. So you still get a chance to, like you said, go off the beaten path. So you're just talking about the 500s, the 250s, but the highest level is going to be the ATSX 1000. The last couple of years, for most of you viewers, you've probably known it as Red Bull Crashed Ice, but due to just rebranding, again, we're always trying to grow the sport, and we feel like the new name just aligned better with where we wanted to go. But it's going to be called Red Bull Ice Cross. So again, that's the highest level. These are the ATSX 1000 races, and really they're invite only. Can kind of get a little confusing when we start talking about country quotas, host country, wild cards that get involved, and we can go in depth later on that. Invite only, highest level. I believe last year, since we only had two, both races counted. Whereas in past years, if we've had 4 races, only 3 were to count. These are races in downtown areas that are built on millions of dollars worth of equipment. The athletes, fortunately, we get treated pretty well from city to city. I know you guys can attest to a couple different experiences on the 1,000 races as well.
Every city's different. When they invite us in, we're getting meals at different places that we normally wouldn't. They're making sure we're accommodated really well. We have massage therapists, PT, bikes, everything we need basically for an event. They treat us like we live there. It's pretty amazing, to be honest.
We practically do for the weekend, though.
Yeah. We are there a long time.
It's a long day every day.
Yeah, it really varies where you go to. Japan, I couldn't sleep, so I was there at the track at like 4 a.m. and everything was up and running already. It's kind of crazy how they take care of us. Marseille was different. That was a few years ago. Jyväskylä, Finland, they've had us a few times. We know what to expect out of there. It's always different depending on the city.
I don't actually know what the best part of the 1000s is for me. I think it's the probably Saturday morning practice is probably the best thing about this sport in general. Just Saturday morning practice, open practice, just track full of guys one time, just everyone going down. It is probably the best part of the 1000s. They do break it up over a few more days, so it can get a bit taxing on the body when you sit around in gear for so long and you only get 4 runs or something. You seem a lot more tired than you actually should be, but you realize you've been sitting around kind of in that excited state, ready to go for so long. # hurry up and wait. But yeah, Saturday morning practices is definitely the highlight. There's just some crazy footage that comes out of that. And just, you get to skate with guys you don't usually get to skate with. Some that are way outside of the bracket you kind of fall in whenever you're actually competing. And it's really good to follow some of the faster guys and try and keep up and see what they do differently to you.
We call those the Saturday morning fun runs.
The fun runs.
Fun runs for the boys, right?
2 hours of open ice. It's awesome.
Absolutely obliterating that track.
In your body.
But what about like your vascular? The last year we had it, the fun run was like 30 guys down at once, and it was mayhem, just bodies falling left, right, and center.
It was like that.
Clip of that.
Too.
I was as well. Yeah. I wasn't there
at once. Guys were running up the stairs to make it on time to just follow people down.
It's funny when you're walking up the bottom of the track, you're like, I don't want to do this, and all of a sudden you hear like the standard like 4 guys go down. You kind of hear the couple steps and the glide. With the fun run, it's just a non-stop parade off the top. You just hear people just jumping. You're like, holy crap!
You got 80 guys all rushing to try to get there all at one time. It's so much fun.
I feel it is really good for you, like you're competing as well, because you get a lot more accustomed to people around you and how to react and how to look for lines and how to defend your lines. So even though it is for fun, it is a really good learning tool. We just don't go out and take it like 100% all the time like the Russians do. Because that one fun run we had, one of the Russians came up in your vascular in the first corner and just pushed me right in the back into the first right-hander. And I just went flying down the hill right into the corner and smashed my hand and almost broke it. And it was not a fun day for the next month after that because I couldn't use my left hand. But just a fun run. Just settle down, guys. Just have some fun, right? Jeez.
Dude. Just have some fun. Have a good time. No, but you're right, though. It is definitely a learning experience. I know for me, that was always the toughest part of the sport was going down by yourself, right? You have the features in your head. You know where you're going. You nail it. All of a sudden, you get 1 person, 2 people, 3 people in front of you, and you can't see the features, and you have to adjust at top speed. Man, that's where it gets a little hairy.
No, it's a whole different ballgame when that happens. You have no idea how to react until you actually get that time to practice that.
You boys don't have too much of a problem because you guys are usually the guys in front of the pack. I'm kind of like stuck midway to the back there trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Here and there. We're working it. But honestly, boys, to kind of keep moving along here, besides the 1,000, 500, 250, 100s, the Riders' Cup races or the races that are outside of the Red Bull Ice Cross, you really don't have to worry about any sort of country quota, right? Like essentially once the race is open for registration, you register on ATSX, boom, you're signed up for the race, you're allowed to participate in it, right?
As long as you're usually of the 120 men they allow. They usually do have a number cap just because the sheer volume of people that try and get through. And also it just has to protect the ice there because anything that's not the 1,000 are only broken across 2 days. So you have like a Thursday qualifying or a Friday qualifying and then Saturday's racing. So you get a choice of picking Thursday or Friday to qualify. And then if you make it, you make it. Perfect. If you don't, then your weekend's kind of done unless they have an LCQ, which is a last chance qualifier, which is actually something they've recently brought into the sport and is fantastic because it gives the new guys the chance to actually race with other people. Because I know from me starting, I started when there was no LCQ. If you qualified, you were straight into the race. And then going from being on the track by yourself all the time, this is also before they had Saturday practice open for everyone. It used to be just for the top 64. So, I remember my first time going from being on the track by myself to having 3 other guys in the start gate next to you. It is not the same track.
That is one of the best things about the LCQ is that guys who actually are brand new, just signed up for the first time this weekend, can actually race against other people. Gives people an actual feel for the sport other than just a feel for the track.
That's what we always want to do, right? Just race people. I remember when we first started, they didn't have that originally. Boom, your weekend was done, and you just sat there and you're like, well, I just wanted to race somebody instead of time trial.
Yeah.
So I love it for the growth of the sport.
One of the upsides of the ATS, like of the 250, 500s, and even I think they do it to the 100s, is that is how you can gain a wild card into the 1000s.
And wild cards come in handy. Essentially, if you finish towards one of the top spots in one of those Ryder Cup races and you're one of the unranked riders, you earn a spot into an X1000 race, which is a heck of an opportunity.
Big points to get in. Because even if you finish 100th, you're probably making more points than you did if you finished in the Ryder Cup or the ATSX race. So it is definitely coming in handy.
Definitely, and depending on which country you come from too. Some of the top countries, USA, Canada, Finland, all those guys are maxed out with some of the top riders already, so you don't really earn a chance until you get that wild card.
And you say maxed out, you're talking about the general country quota, right?
Yeah. So the country quota. So as long as all your skaters are within the top 64, you're allowed to have 7 of those guys go to an event. Now, if you have a association for your country as well, you get an additional 2. Yeah. So those 9 spots are all you get unless you have guys who earn wild cards from other ways. So coming from a 250 point or a 500 point, or even being in the top in one of those categories from the previous season, you'll get a pass for either the first 1 or 2. I'm not 100% sure on which number that is, but you get a bid to the next one.
If you actually host the event, right, it's an extra 7 spots or something. So if the 1000 is in your country, that host country gets an additional set of spots. I feel like that was originally brought in to get more countries to want to host, because then you can get more athletes into it. But it can also be a bit of a downside where it's something like where there's 3 or 4 events in Russia, or 3 or 4 events in any other country, but Russia seems to be holding them all at the moment, and they just get all the races in, and that pushes all their guys up. But it does make it a bit hard sometimes if you're on the short end of that stick.
I was going to say, Kale, you and we've been fighting on that bubble spot for how many years, man?
For 9 spots within the USA, we are top. We are both top 38, I think, this season. Yep. And we're still both on the bubble right now. I mean, It's crazy, the competition within the countries themselves. Something that you wouldn't really think of, but you have to compete against your own country mates to even make it to the events.
So at least for you and me, I know looking into next season, I'm really, really hoping we have a ATSX 1000 here in the U.S. to allow us to be able to participate in and make that bubble spot. But I just love racing at home, man.
The best. Having a race in your home country. I mean, when we had the ATSX 1000 in Boston, we had 16 riders from the U.S. and I think all 16 of those were within the top 100 in the world. Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, those guys are all good skaters. We're all right there in the competition. And the fact that 7 of those normally can't compete in the 1000 races is kind of crazy.
No, that's very true. And Aussie, I mean, I hope to see in the next 2, 3, 4 years, 10 different Australian riders coming up.
I was going to say, it must be nice to have a home race.
I know you got stuff going on.
Don't know what you're talking about. I'm doing the best I can. It's quite hard. Like even like just getting to a one event, you can be down 3-4 grand just flying around the world. And the worst thing is because obviously, if you want to get into the sport, you have to start to accrue points. And that works on the ATSX races, on the 100s, 500s, 250s. They're in such small towns. Like, I think my first race took me 3 days in transit to get to. If you fly from Australia, one event can cost you more than some people spend in a season. And the downside is if you get there and you don't do well, you get 4 runs on a track and that's it. You're done. So it is quite hard to convince people to be stupid enough to put that effort into it, because I did, and I feel like it's a reasonable risk, but a lot of people don't, and it's kind of fair for them, yeah.
But also now, like, that's your side, right? And then look at the other point of view where, I mean, honestly, we've had pretty good luck in Minnesota with being able to host a 500 race multiple years. You could look at someone who's never had a chance to race, who lives in Bloomington, Minnesota, and all of a sudden a race pops up. It's only 20 minutes from him, which is just crazy. And I would love the chance for this sport to grow to the point where everybody has that ability in multiple countries across the world.
You'd be crazy not to, if it was around the corner from you, you'd be crazy not to sign up. One of the upsides with the ATSX is it's the All-Terrain Skate Cross Association. So the upside with that is the permanent track in Russia in summer, they actually do they've just competed in their first summer skate cross. So that's a fantastic opportunity where that's something I can look into and go, hey, I can put a summer event on at a local BMX park and be like, hey, we can get some skaters in, and then begin to assess their skating abilities from there, and then be like, hey, you should try this, or let's see how you go on an ice rink, and kind of put, I guess, what we classify as a bit of a flat ice qualifier, but just to get the guys used to, and girls and kids and whoever else wants to give it a try.
Everybody.
Just a bit of a taste of what it is like on skates, and then people can judge for themselves if they think it's worth throwing cash into to see if they can, skate fast down a hill.
And that leads well into, essentially our next episode is going to touch base a little bit on the travel life. Again, we'll have another special guest with us. But if it's your first time, obviously this is only our third episode, so you're just kind of getting into the sport as well. But if you've never done a race before, I guess the first steps would be to head over to icecross.com. They got all the rules, regulations. It's got info on races, where they're going to be, locations. Pop on there, sign yourself up for a 100 level race or even an ATSX 250 level race. See what you got. I guess the biggest thing to keep in mind is have a good time. Make sure you're having fun. And that's what I know I tell you, Luke, and I tell you, Kale, all the time. As long as we're having fun, nothing can go wrong.
Skate fast, don't fall. Thanks, Half Speed.
Thanks, Half Speed. But no, truly, thank you, Kale, Johnstone, everybody. Thank you again. Really appreciate you coming on and chatting with us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, boys. Happy to be here.
You guys, the viewers, we thank you. We challenge you guys to check us out on social media. You can check me out, Auby1987 on Insta, TJ Albrecht on Facebook and YouTube. You can catch that Aussie Crasher man right there.
Yeah, nice and easy. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all Aussie Crasher.
Kale Johnstone, where can they locate you?
Instagram is EatMoreKale16, and then on Facebook, you can find me, Kale Johnstone, Ice Cross Downhill.
I love it. I love it. You can catch our show, AubyNAussie, on YouTube. If you have any questions, want to shoot us an email, AubyNAussie@gmail.com. Again, we're just passionate dudes who like to watch some adrenaline sports, participate in ice cross downhill. We're just obsessed with it. Signing off, again, it's your favorite ice cross ginger, TJ.
See you guys, Aussie Crasher here. I guess it's all downhill from here. Let's go.
Any sign of destruction's on us. My adrenaline's pumping, feel it all in my veins. Don't worry, percussions, then stay out the way. Like a lineman rushing to take them out of the game. Got the party jumping and tearing out of the frame. I'm talking monster.